Today, my friends, I have for you a Lavaloon attack strategy guide, and we're going to be breaking down a lot of different aspects of the Lavaloon, giving you 3 different examples and knowing exactly how you guys can use the Lavaloon in terms of their pathing and knowing exactly how many defenses or how many loons you need to use to take out a defense in one shot. All that and more later on within this video. With that being said, let's jump straight into the guide. So the first thing that we want to touch on with any Lavaloon attack is our key objectives, and this segment right here is specifically going over just that, just the key objectives. So let's talk about it. So there are multiple different Lalo attack strategies that you can do, and obviously, of course, each one's going to be slightly more different. But in terms of a Lavaloon in general, just for you to know, you really want to know exactly where the air defenses are, where the multi-inferno towers are, and also where the wizard towers and the eagle is. Not just that, but you also want to tell where the CC and the queen is. And particularly, those are going to be your 2 main key objectives. Getting rid of these 2 are going to be really essential to dealing with the whole base as a whole. You've got to deal with the queen, because if you don't, she's going to stay up and she's going to target your loons, possibly even your hounds, and melt them away. But most of the time, the one thing that you need to be worried about the most is definitely going to be your loons. If she takes out a large number of your loons, then you're going to be out of luck there. Now, what about other defenses, such as the eagle artillery? The eagle is a good unit or a good building to take out, especially since it does a lot of damage. However, it's not something that you always have to worry about, especially since you will have the Grand Warden. If you don't, then it might be best to take that out alongside the queen and the CC, as long as they're pretty close together. You'll notice on this base design that they are pretty close. Now, not just that, but you also want to look for any air targeting value. So this is going to include stuff like archer towers, wizard towers, multi-infernos, expos, and also air sweepers, along with air defenses if I didn't mention them. And those are going to be your main sort of things to take out. Specifically, as much air targeting defenses as possible, because if you can, then that's just going to provide you with more value, especially in terms of the air sweepers, since they are going to be definitely a nuisance to the Lavaloon. You maybe want to try and even Lavaloon away from those air sweepers. But just remember, when you're entering with your kill squad, whether it be Queen Charge, Electron, or even Suey, it gives you guys a good idea. So let's go ahead and jump into how you guys can use the loons and the number of loons that you're going to need in order to take out specific defenses. So let's discuss the number of loons and actually how that coincides with per defense. So you are going to notice that this base, a large majority of this base was taken out by an Electron portion. So we want to take a look at what is left. So if we're taking a look at all of these balloons from this bottom portion, we notice that there is a good majority right here. We notice this because they're going into the expo. If you notice from the bottom of your screen, you'll notice the number of loons that you're going to need per defense. So what this means is that with all these loons being stacked right here, that means that he's hoping that the balloons will take out this, since you only need 5, and move into the multi-inferno once this cannon is taken out. Now, this is going to be determined based on pathing, and let's talk about that as well in this section. So specifically, we have loons going in here. They're going to one-shot that as long as they all target it at the same time. So usually you're not going to get that pure one-shot unless all the loons are together and they're going to drop their bombs at the same time. But we have loons going in here and we have loons going in here. Once this building is taken out and this one is, they're going to start moving onto the air defense. They're going to be moving onto on the multi-inferno. Once this air defense is taken out, they'll move on to the wizard tower. Some of these will move over here. Some of them will move over to the archer tower. So you've got to know the pathing of it. Now, in terms of those number of loons, you are going to need to know exactly how many or if there are any traps there. So you got to stay consistent there. So it gives you guys a really solid idea of the Lavaloon pathing, and also in terms of knowing how many of the loons, you're going to need to take out those defenses and know where they're going to go. Other than that, it should be fairly simple. So if we're correct, if we kind of watch this and going through, notice that there's a large number of loons there. There is a trap, but it takes that out. They move straight onto the multi-inferno. Then those guys move over to, as you can see, I'm particularly correct in terms of the pathing of it. So if you kind of follow me there, you'll kind of understand it. So that gives you guys a little bit of a solid idea of the loon pathing, so that then you guys can understand this better, especially when you're surgically placing them. So it definitely gives you guys a really solid idea. So let's go ahead and take a look at the spells and how you would use each of those spells within the Lavaloon portion. So this is going to be specifically on the spells and how you guys would use them. So we're not gonna really watch this one. However, you guys will be seeing this one first. We're gonna be breaking it down for you guys. Then that gives you a clearer view of this strategy, especially with the Suey Lalo. But we're gonna start on focusing with the Lavaloon portion in terms of the hastes, the rage, and the heal. We're gonna kind of explain that. You notice that there is a haste right here. Now, this should only be done, and we're going to watch this right here. This should only be done to get the loons, especially the loons that are closer to the air defense, to get to that air defense. Typically, you're only going to use your haste spells on those defenses or on the loons that will go to the defenses that go towards the air defense, and or a wizard tower or a multi-inferno or even an expo. So considering this, you've got to know that when you're dealing with different base designs, you want to try and make sure that you're hasting your way up into those key defenses that could really pose a threat to your loons after your hounds have all gone away. That's what you need to consider when you guys are using the Lavaloon portion. What about Rage and Heal? Heal is a very solid spell in terms of keeping your loons alive as they get through the base. So typically what you'll do is you'll place the heal as you're charging into a multi-inferno or a wizard tower or something similar to like right here. You don't know if there are any traps there like red air bombs, seeking air mines, or even a tornado trap there. So you have no idea. So that's when a heal spell is really going to come into play, and it will keep a lot of your loons alive. The rage spell, on the other hand, unlike the haste, gives them that damage boost and also just a tad bit of a speed boost. Not as fast as a haste, but definitely still pretty quick. It gives you a little bit of an extra boost for your loons as they get through. But not just that, but when you guys are using a Suey Lalo, you have skeleton spells. Now, I'm not going to go over this in full right now, as we are going to be watching this entire attack and breaking it down a little bit later on, but Skellies and Rage go hand in hand when dealing with the Queen, and we'll kind of explain why that is in the next in the examples that we have in terms of attacks, and how you guys can deal with the CC in either a Suey Lalo, in a Queen Charge Lalo, and also in an Electron Lalo. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the Suey Lalo that we have here for you guys. So one of the first questions that you have to ask yourself with the Suey Lalo is whether or not how do you take a look at a base design and say, I want to Suey Lalo that? How can I tell that there is? So specifically with the Suey Lalo, you're looking for value from anywhere on the base. Specifically, this is going to be, can I get some sort of value from the Suey hero, which is the King and Queen? You may think that the Grand Warden would go in there, but no. The Grand Warden is way too important to go in with the Lavaloon portion, and you need to keep it that way. But in terms of the value, you really want to take a look at areas where they're not being too heavily guarded. So specifically, if we take a look at this little bottom section here, we can tell that there's a multi-inferno and also 2 wizard towers. This gives us some good value in terms of splash. Now, a majority of that splash protecting the Queen is going to be right here. So we need to take that out with the Lavaloon portion before we deal with the Queen. And especially, if we can get the Grand Warden's ability right underneath those skeletons, that would be even better. In terms of dealing with a CC like this, like an unlurable CC, it could mean that you might have to bring wall breakers to deal with that, or deal with the CC, since you're typically going to be bringing in loons or an Electro Dragon into your Suey Lalo in the Stone Slammer, Usually if you decide to bring an Electro Dragon, then you will be able to deal with the CC. I would encourage you guys to bring a poison if you know that it's a damage CC. Most of the time, a max poison will actually be able to deal with a max baby dragon alone. So just keep that in mind when you guys are using this. Just remember that a max poison does not deal or will not kill off a max dragon. So just keep that in mind. It'll weaken it, but it won't kill it. So in terms of looking at the bottom section of the base, you want to look for as much value as possible, specifically getting, even if you get 1 air defense and you get like 2 multi-inferno or 2 wizard towers, that's even better. That just offers you more value. That's what you're looking for. So there isn't a specific entry point to this attack, since realistically anywhere can be your entry point, and it doesn't really just have to be using wall breakers or anything. You actually notice from here is that the air sweeper pushed back the stone slimer out of range of the multi-inferno that was being covered by the tornado traps. So it kind of pushed them off in an area where that multi-inferno will not be taken out. However, we still get value from this area because there's a Tesla farm. Getting small bits of value is really, really important with this attack. So keeping that in mind is actually going to be extremely important when you guys are using the Lavaloon portion. So as we're sending everything in, we want to take a look at how much of the air, or how much of the base is being tanked for by the, or I guess I shouldn't say that. How much the Hound is tanking for the loons in terms of all the defenses that are around it. So we can see from this air defense here is that there is an Expo and an Archer Tower locked onto the Hound, meaning that the loons can go in safely to deal with this part of the base. Now we have this area over here, which we can send another Hound in, and we can have the Queen target that, we can have the Wizard Tower target that, we can have the Archer Tower target that. That's a lot of good value right there, and that offers us really good value in terms of a Lavaloon portion, and for the Hounds themselves to be tanking. You really want to look for that tank value, because that could really be a lot of good one. Now you'll see from here, the skeleton spell is being used and popping the Grand Warden's ability right over the skellies, so that then they can clear up that queen very easy under the rage. So you'll notice that that's a very strong option that you guys can use. So as you're entering into the base, making sure that you're using your haste spells to get them to those key defenses, like you see right here, they're getting right up to that air defense. Next, you want to heal up your loons, especially right now, because they're all either on mid health or really low health. So healing them up is extremely important. Locking on to the Grand Warden is definitely a little bit good, especially. However, you can see from here, the heal spell really offers you a lot of value, and that's what you're looking for with the Suey Lalo. So bringing in the heal is never a bad option. So definitely, I would highly encourage you guys really try it out. But as far as that goes, it gives you guys a very solid explanation of the Suey Lalo. I know a lot of people really like this. You can use it from Town Hall 9 up. It's very, very powerful. Always going to be base dependent, but very powerful nonetheless. So typically, if you can get the value that I kind of explained here, getting small bits of value, including a Tesla farm, you can get a lot of good value from your Suey hero, and then just getting the rest of the base cleared out with your Suey Lalo. So let's go ahead and jump into the next one that we have here for you guys, which is going to be the Queen Charge Lavaloon. Now, of course, the Queen Charge Lalo is way different than the Suey Lalo. Of course, we're using the Queen Charge in order to get into the base. So what are a couple options of doing that? How do we charge our queen into the base? Well, we want to use wall breakers. Wall breakers are a very, very useful tool in terms of getting our queen right into the base. So one of the things that we want to take a look at is basically where our entry point will be. So where's the value? Where's the value that we want to get? So if we either walk from either here and break into here, or even walk this way, we will be able to get some sort of value moving in. We want to freeze up the multi-inferno and also wall break into the base. We do not want the multi-inferno onto our wall breakers, because they'll take them out in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. I guess I could say that. So it's definitely going to go out pretty quickly. So you want to freeze them up so then the wall breakers have an easy time getting through. As long as the wizard tower is also being tanked for by the queen, then you should be fine. Now, with 7 wall breakers, you want to use at least 1 test wall breaker to see if there are any small bombs that could really prove to be very important, as a small bomb can take out a wall breaker, so keep that in mind. So you want to kind of tell where those are. So if you notice that there are spots for it, test wall breaker once that queen is is being targeted by stuff, and then send them in once you know that there's nothing. If nothing pops up, then send the rest, then at least send a few in. 3 is actually going to be enough in order to take out a max wall. So keep that in mind when you have a max Town Hall 11 and max wall breakers, then, or at least level 7 wall breakers, then you should be able to take out a level 12 wall fairly easily. So that, just keep that in mind when you guys are using this attack strategy. But not just that, but you also want to try and take a look at where your value is going to be. So specifically, if we enter into here, that's going to be where our value is. And we want to consider this as we are using this attack strategy. We're going to kind of play it for you guys to give you guys an understanding, but typically with the Queen Charge Lalo, you're looking for at least 2 air defenses. If not, as long as you get 1, then you're still fine, but getting rid of a Multi-Inferno, Expos, the Queen, and also the CC is going to be extremely important as well. So those are going to be somewhat of your key objectives as you really use this attack strategy. Now, another thing to keep in mind is, why would you not Suey Lalo this base? Now, you could, and that's completely fine. However, you do have these double Multi-Infernos, and that could really be a very big nuisance in terms of it, since, like, how are you going to be able to deal with getting through a good chunk of the rest of the base design and also a damage CC if you're not using a Queen Charge? So that's what you're going to be trying to do. Remember to bring a poison with this, because it is going to be extremely important to deal with the enemy CC, especially if it's a damage CC, so this is a very easy way of dealing with it. But you want to make sure that you're breaking into at least 2 layers of walls. You can see the first layer right here, and then the Multi-Inferno compartment. That's 2 layers. This allows that queen to break into more of the base and get more value. Even if the eagle pops already, you should be able to keep that queen alive under the rage. Just make sure that you're raging that queen up as she deals with the CC, the queen, and also when she really needs it, like for instance when she needs it when she's getting fired on by the eagle. But as you're sending everything in, you want to make sure that you're sending your number of loons correctly, and also the Stone Slimer, as sometimes you may only be bringing 1 or 2 Lava Hounds. So Stone Slimer with the Lavaloon portion is extremely important and really good to try out. So as we're kind of moving through this example, you'll notice that we're never going for the eagle as a very key defense. Why is that? Specifically, the eagle is not so much of a threat, especially with the Grand Warden and his Eternal Tomb, or his Internal Tome, I'm sorry. But it gives you guys a very solid idea of dealing with, you know, the eagle itself is not a big problem, since your loons get a nice buff in terms of health under his ability, or under his, you know, aura, and then also with his ability, keeping them alive and invincible as they move through the base. That's something to keep in mind, and it gives you guys a really solid idea with the Queen Charge Lavaloon. So with that being said, that gives you guys, as I said, I keep repeating myself, it's a very solid example. So let's go ahead and look at the final example that we have here for you guys, which is Electron Lalo. So the first thing that you'll probably notice with this base design is not just the corner air defenses like you see right here. Each of those are in the corner slightly, I mean, except for the ones at the top, but that's completely fine. You see that the air defenses are really spread out. Why would you choose this base for an Electron? Let's think about it this way. We have 2 clone spells, we want to get as much value from the loons, and if we're taking a look at the base from the inside, we notice that there's a lot of good chain value. That's what you're looking for. You are looking for chain value. Even if some of these placements are going to be like double space, we can still get some value from the chain, at least from the core of the base. We can get the eagle, we can basically gut the entire core. So we want to consider this when we're using the Electron. keeping mainly just this portion left is what was left on this base. If you guys remember from a little bit earlier on in the video, I did kind of show you how much of the base was gutted already when I was talking about the pathing. That's really what the Electron is viable of doing. And I'm very surprised a lot of people don't use this a little bit more. I understand Lavaloon is really hard, but Electron makes it pretty easy. So, don't take my word for it, but I'd say this. Electron is definitely one of my favorite attacks in terms of Lavaloon in general. It's super easy to use and really easy to get into, but it's definitely going to be base dependent. Not just that, but Stone Slammer versus Battle Blimp. Which is better? Battle Blimp is a very, very solid one, and you're going to see why. Since the Battle Blimp just goes for the Town Hall, you can abuse where the Town Hall is placed and get value from that. So Battle Blimp is going to be really good there. However, when you're using a Stone Slammer, you're specifically looking at where the Queen's placed. And if we consider this base design and where the Air Sweepers are placed primarily, it's not going to be a good idea. The Stone Slammer is not a great option. If we're charging into the base here, we're going to have this Air Sweeper pushing our Stone Slammer back. So going into the base from the middle and going into the blind spot of both of those Air Sweepers means that we're going to be able to get much more value. So I would encourage you guys really try out the Battle Blimp sometimes, especially with a Lavaloon and especially an Electron. It gives you guys an idea of how much value you really need to get with it. So in terms of that, you obviously want to get the Queen. The Queen should be almost no doubt this should be the only way to deal with the Queen. So sometimes you got to really pray and get that Queen down, especially if the Electro Dragon almost has like a slur of health left when he takes her out. However, let's also think about it this way. We've also got a Suey Lalo. That Suey Lalo is also looking for value as well. So we got a little bit more of an advanced Suey Lalo. And we're going to kind of show you guys this example as well. So we want to show you guys the Battle Blimp, and we'll kind of explain the Suey Lalo a little bit later on, but I kind of wanted to mention that as well. So if we take a look at the Battle Blimp, notice that it has straight line pathing. It may not have that much health. However, dropping 2 clones, allowing the loons to clone up, and the Electro Dragon value is huge. You're looking for this. This is extremely important. Look at how much of the base has been gutted by the Electro Dragon itself. That's what you're looking for. That is specifically the one thing that you are looking for with this. If you can get an air defense down, which would be really lucky, sometimes you probably won't be able to get it, but it is a very, very viable way of really dealing with a good chunk of this base. Now you'll see, a good chunk of the base though, all the air defenses are still up. However, you can still use a Suey hero and take that out. That's what you're looking for. So you want to try and make sure that you are dealing with the CC, whether this be a baby dragon or something like that. In terms of this one, it wasn't a damage CC, it was a tank CC. However, getting as much value is what you're really looking for when you guys are using the Suey Lalo and also the Electron. So you're going to get a lot of good value. Now notice here how I said it when I was talking about pathing and the number of loons. You're going to have loons going in here, 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 then they're going to move here, those are going to move up here, and you can just see how that pathing works. So as we're sending everything else in, we want to make sure that we're keeping up the hound path or the hound placement as well. So we want to make sure that we're popping our Grand Warden's ability over the loons so that then we can protect them over the splash and also air defenses. But not just that, but we also want to make sure that those hounds are tanking enough for the loons on top of those defenses, specifically over the air defenses, of course, but also like if you can get like a multi-tower Inferno beam to lock onto the hound, that's awesome, because that means that it's wasting one beam on a hound that has a lot of health, and it's going to take a while. So just keep that in mind, but gives you guys a really solid example. So that's going to do it, guys, for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you guys don't miss anything. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this one. Let me know in the comments below if you guys really want to see another Lavaloon video almost like this at either Town Hall 10 or even at Town Hall 11 again, or even at Town Hall 12. Let me know. And also feel free to let me know in the comment let me know in the comments below if you guys did enjoy. Also, feel free to join any of my clans that I'm covering in the description below, and also feel free to go ahead and join my community Discord and follow me on Twitter at _CorruptYT. With that being said, that's going to do it, guys, for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys next time. Corrupt, signing out.